Boom, 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 boom. Hell yeah. I figured out how to do it to make the camera come on to me. Hello, everyone. Well, I just talk just before the thing comes on. But then if you start to combat that, then I'm in big trouble.
Well, yeah, it usually goes on me, which shows how much I'm just a yapper, always.
I'll combat it.
You'll combat. Hey, look, you got a background now. Congratulations, Tom.
Look at me. Thanks, Paddy, for the background.
No worries, Dad.
There he is. He's doing a yell off my thing. You've got the footy sign and you've got an AFL award from the 1990s. And I've got the AFLW Carlton team signed to Guernsey.
Legends.
And Mim, who'll be on the pod this Saturday. How is everyone going in the chat? Good. Greg, Sonny here, and Paul. Greg, haha. Greg starting. What's he saying? G'day, Paul. Greg's just talking.
Everyone's chatting amongst themselves.
That's nice. I like that happens.
They should have Kevin Crepignery on every episode this season. He called me last week just before going on, literally 30 seconds before walking on stage to talk about it, because he was like, this is all fascinating, but I have to walk on stage right now. It was very awkward. But yeah.
I was giving Broden the thumbs up, like, I'll start the show, and he was like, no. Oh, funny.
Shall we just crack in?
We can.
Anything from anyone? No? Cool.
Yeah.
Are we across all platforms today?
Yeah. TikTok, Instagram,
Really?
Twitch, YouTube.
Missy Higgins.
Missy Higgins could be there.
Missy Higgins could be watching. Hell yeah. All right, shall we?
Yeah.
Do you want to bounce that pill?
Sure.
Happy 19th of June, folks. We are officially halfway through the men's season and things are just getting started. And by that, I mean there's another week of buys, isn't there?
Yep.
Yes? Dear God. Well, when there's buys happening, you got to get that pill. And then I like to say...
Bounce that pill.
Not my best.
No.
I loved it. Your team's got a fucking button like that.
Yeah. Not my best intro, but welcome. G'day, Marns. How you going?
I'm good. How are you?
You getting through it this week? Getting it done?
Yeah. Origin. By the time people listen to this, Blues would have won their second game, which means they've won the series.
Wow. They dominated in the first one, didn't they?
Well, they did, but Nathan Cleary couldn't kick to save his life. So the scoreboard didn't show how much they actually dominated because none of the tries were converted.
Oh. I heard that he might be going to Union.
No.
That was a rumor I saw. Is that completely not happening?
Well, I don't know. I don't really follow league very closely. I follow State of Origin and I follow the Rabbitohs.
Fair enough. Blue, green, and red. Hello, Tom. How are you?
G'day, mate. How are you?
What's news? What did you do today?
Jeez, we recorded 18 interviews today.
We did.
Some of the best we've ever done.
Yes. Who was your favourite?
Oh, that's unfair. I really liked this weekend's mates with the Carlton W team. Are we leaking names?
Yeah.
Yeah, Abby McKay and Mimi Hill. And
Yep.
it was very, very funny.
It's 5 a.m.
It had an energy to it that I think was very funny. They were sort of giving it to Broden a bit.
They did. They did. There was a chicken shop date energy to it.
Yeah, or what did I say the other day? Bobby Altoff sort of energy, but not from Broden. So that was funny.
No, they're awesome though. Halfway through the year, shall we just give our predictions? Last year I would have said Suns.
Funny.
No, but who would you go now?
So flag favourites?
Yeah.
Are we using the brain or the heart?
The brat. A bit of brain, a bit of heart.
I think the doggies for me then.
Oh, love that. Oh.
Is that the brat?
Yeah. So that's like, I genuinely think they're very good, but heart wants them to win. So
Yeah, right.
It's so fascinating. I feel like unless you're Collingwood or Geelong, all the fan bases of the teams that are in the top 8 are still very unsure. Like there is a massive gap between Collingwood, Geelong and the rest. Because even like I've spoken to doggies people even today, they're like, oh, I don't even know if we should be in top 4. No, they're not even in top 4. We should be in top 8. Same with like Adelaide. Same with who else is in the top 4?
Suns,
Brizzy.
Giants,
Brizzy.
Adelaide.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we're going like if the premiership's in 2 weeks, then like it's Collingwood, Geelong in the granny.
How boring, huh?
But there's so many twists and turns yet to go. Like by this stage last season, people weren't sure about Brizzy. Can't say.
Doggies fans are very self-deprecating, I think.
Do you want to say that again?
What did I say? Defecating.
Defecating.
I was like, it's been a long day.
Self-defecating.
Yeah, like they poo all the time. No,
Yeah.
self-deprecating. Like Will Anderson last year, I was up in the doggies all last year, and he was like, no, we're not good. So
I wouldn't mind Adelaide being in there.
would be fun.
Obviously with my bias, but
I can't believe they're fourth. That's
I
insane.
can.
But they just don't ever win.
Well, I mean, watching that Hawthorn game, maybe not.
Yeah.
That was frustrating to watch. But no, I think they're looking really good across the park.
Yeah. I watched the documentary on the formation of them yesterday, actually, because I have a lot going on. And how the whole Port Adelaide were in. And then everyone else in Adelaide went, wait. Not them. We'll make another one. And then the VFL went, okay, you can not Port. So, yeah. And the time that guy walked across the hot coals, you across that?
No, I don't think so.
Nigel Smart, I think it was. They got all revved up and we're going to do a pre-season really exciting. We're going to walk across hot coals to show how hot we are. And he walked across and then immediately had to go to hospital and get his
God.
skin coming off the bottom of his feet.
That feels like a metaphor somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was, but then they went on to win the flag not long after that. Pay attention, Melbourne. Marnie, have you got news?
I do.
Well, then it's time for the news with Marnie Vinyl. Where are we at with the sting, Tom? What's being used these days?
So the new groovy sting in the podcast.
Oh, that's a premium experience for the audio only.
Yeah, but on the YouTube, they've just got this.
You've got the vintage classic.
Every week, I'm like, fuck, I got to fix that. Remember last week I'd broken it? I managed to fix that for this week. The pill bouncing one.
Yep.
So I'll fix one thing a week.
Slowly moving in the right direction. Marnie, what are we opening? Well, it's the leading story.
Well, a Geelong player will reach a milestone that only 24 players in the history of the game have reached before when Patrick Dangerfield runs out for his 350th game.
Whoa.
He already has a premiership, a Brownlow, 8 All-Australian selections, and according to Tom, that bodes very well for the Cats because he's not even in their top 10 best players. And Geelong are going all out with the fanfare. What do you make about this whiteout that they're doing?
Yeah, groovy. Cool.
Very cool. So for context, inspired by Penn State's famous whiteout. So they're taking a lot from like American fandom. They're going to have limited edition Geelong T-shirts on the back of 40,000 seats at Cardinia Park for fans to wear. So it's like an intimidation tactic against the reigning premiers. I know that this comes with like the biggest dose of hypocrisy, but like my heart just like looks at all that waste because not everyone, like the amount of
Those
shirts that are going to just clog landfill. But obviously that comes from me who like is obsessed with merch and has so much merch.
This
So I
is
was
every
just like,
NBA game. This is what they do.
I know it kills me watching it,
like, yeah.
but I'm also like such a fan of theatre and fanfare, and I think it's going to look really cool.
I think
make
for this
it?
one-off, people might actually keep them though. Like I think
Yeah.
for the one-off three, I didn't realize 350. That's crazy cool.
Isn't it mad?
That's awesome.
What
I'm
are the
stoked for that.
chances that they live through one wash?
Yeah, low.
know what I
It'll
mean?
be cheap.
Very
That
good
is
point.
sad. But I think people will maybe frame them even. Like they'll want to hang on to them.
Are they cotton on? Surely they're cotton on, yeah?
You would assume, yeah.
So they won't last.
They won't be AS basics, that's for sure.
No, but even so, I send some t-shirts to dry cleaning.
Really?
You?
Yeah.
God, you are fancy pants.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Because AS, sometimes I'll have a nice white shirt
Yeah.
and then I'll put it through one wash and then it's a midriff.
Yes, I hear you.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do shrink a lot. Even my pants, my new pants from Johnny Big, they fit very well. And now one wash and they're a bit tight around the middle.
But we love Johnny Big, Tom. We're not saying that Johnny Big shrink.
No, they do. But I think that's a natural process when you.
For jeans,
yeah.
yeah.
Like it's a thing that happens.
But yeah, so for shirts that were on stage, I definitely dry clean t-shirts.
Yeah, wow.
So
You should dry cleaning your plain white t-shirt.
yes, I'm
You're
a fancy
man.
I'm a fancy childless boy with not much going on. Yeah, it's a very American thing. It's
How do you work out the sizing? Like, are they all extra large?
Yeah, all a little too big, I imagine. Yeah.
But little too big for you is little too big for me. Very
yeah,
different sizes.
but you could wear one of my, it would be ridiculous, but you could wear one of my t-shirts for a fun thing and it would still give the illusion that 40,000 people are wearing well-fitted t-shirts.
the other
Yeah, but that like ruins it a bit. Like if I'm really excited to go to this game to get a shirt, and that has been a huge draw card, and that I can only get an extra large, and I look a bit silly.
maybe you can do some swapsies. Maybe there's a buy, swap and sell there.
Yeah.
Some fights just break out in the crowd because everyone's trying to get.
But then also,
prizes.
they're yet to sell it out, the new revamped stadium. So there should arguably be about, who are they playing?
Brisbane.
There should be about 25,000 extra shirts there that you can swap around and rifle through.
I've seen a lot of feedback about that, Broden, because we talk about this often. And a lot of Cats people are saying that they want to play more games there and they're forced by the AFL to go play Collingwood at the MCG and stuff. And they make more money down Cardinia and they'd rather stay in Cardinia. Just thought that was interesting.
It is a hot take. I saw that because they think they take cuts of the hot dogs and things.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
the merch and all that sort of stuff. It's just interesting.
I would argue 30,000 more seats is better than taking a cut of.
It is. It depends what the split with MCG is, I guess. Do they own Cardinia, Geelong? Because if they do, I guarantee you it'll be more profit than MCG. 100%, yeah.
I wonder. It's a fascinating area of financial breakdown. We should get an economist on.
We should. That's a great idea.
I had another thought about this. About the sold out thing. I mean, it's cool. I like seeing things like this. I like a bit of colour this deep into the season.
Yeah, me too. I think it will look cool.
But there's also congratulations to Patrick Dangerfield as well.
Incredible.
That's a mammoth amount of games, particularly for the style of player he is. Like, he's not usually the ones who get up to 400 are like lean, Dustin Fletcher, Tuck kind of players who don't have muscle injuries, but he's been injured for most of that.
But that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, in my head, he does a lot of calves and a lot of injuries on the journey. But him and Pendles are just incredible because Pendles too. Same thing.
He has a basketball background.
Yeah, incredible.
How would you go with doing a Tom Stewart voice?
The voice of Tom Stewart.
Yeah.
Much like Mitch Duncan, I've never heard that man talk.
Okay.
What does he say?
I have no idea.
Well, no, just
I don't think I've
because
ever heard him either.
Geelong did a piece where they just got a lot of players to write quotes about Paddy, and you can imagine that most of them were, he was really competitive and he really contested.
Yeah.
Like, I could have guessed it, but I actually
Incredible
really like
insight.
Tom Stewart's, and I've got it here, and I was going to get you to read it really poetically, but
I can do it as Ben Mendelsohn or something.
Yeah, that's great. We love Mendo.
Okay.
you don't have to read the whole thing, obviously.
I'm going to do it as Ben Mendelsohn.
I don't know who that is.
That's the guy. He built the Death Star.
Yeah.
And he's in Animal Kingdom.
Okay.
Oh, g'day there, Paddy. When I came into the league, he was at the peak of his powers. He was the best player in the league by far. The one thing I've learned off him so much is just the joy that he brings to the game. He is uncompromising and so willing on the field. He's a fierce competitor as I've ever seen, but the way he goes about it off the field is something that I really have tried to take on myself.
See, in my head, I wrote this. When I came into the league, he was at the peak of his powers. He was the best player in the league by far. You know, like
Yeah. I was
just
more
made
of a
that
menace.
boring.
I was a menacing
you were a menace.
menacing antagonist from Animal Kingdom. But that makes it scary, doesn't it? You're at the peak of your powers, mate.
Okay.
Well, no, that's very exciting. Good on you, Paddy. Do you reckon you'll get to 400?
No.
No?
You don't think so? At this full
50 more
forward sort of thing,
games.
maybe, right?
That's 2 more years. Okay, maybe.
Just sitting in the forward line, I think.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Like,
alright.
I take back the top 10 thing, but I think the rise of Max Holmes and Bailey Smith has shown that I was sort of right. Like, they're not relying on him as much as they were. Like, he can sit full forward now. It's grouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if they win the flag this year, maybe he just goes, bye.
Yeah, see you later. That's the thing, isn't it? Does he want to? That's the question, isn't it?
He likes fishing.
Well, apparently no one more competitive than him, so
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah, hell yeah. What other news we
Well,
got?
however, the Cats will be without Sam de Koning, who will miss several weeks after shoulder surgery. He needs to repair an AC joint, which he suffered in the Cats 25, which he suffered in the Cats' 95-point thrashing of Essendon, which kind of, he's expected to miss 4 to 5 weeks. And that is a big injury to get sidelined for when you've already won the game 10 minutes in. That sucks.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
It was too easy for him. There was no full forwards to line up on, so he's just got cold and then did an injury.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, literally. Bloody Essendon.
yeah. Nah, beautiful. It's like, yeah. So he's 5 to 6 weeks, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just in time. Just in time for finals.
Yeah. There are a few players like that, actually. We'll get to that. Jamara Ugle-Hagan has returned to the Western Bulldogs.
What's he doing?
Well, he's going to begin his reintegration process after taking a leave of absence in April. The Bulldogs are yet to put a specific timeline on when he might be able to play again, but it's expected he'll come back through the VFL, and the AFL need to approve it. as well. He's come back because it's under the league's mental health plan.
Right.
Yeah, pretty interesting. But it would be, again, interesting if he was to make it back in time for finals.
I feel like there's, with the Doggies on the run home, there's a chance that they just have immaculate vibes from now on. Like they start to get on a real look how good we are run. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah. And then all of a sudden he's playing fantastic and they're like, chuck him in.
Yeah.
But also they're like the one team who they've got Sam Darcy, who's the best player to ever play
Oh, my
football.
goodness.
And
So-
very capable backup
Oh, my
forwards.
God,
Very
yeah.
capable.
So
Like Aaron Norton's nothing to sneeze at, you know? Like,
Yeah. And you know who I
superstar.
really miss? Cody Waitman.
Yeah, Cody. What happened to him? Is he out for the
Knee.
year?
Knee.
Bad knee.
Oh, yeah? Shame.
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Because I was just going to say, if he came back as well, my God.
Yeah.
He's one of my favourite players to watch. He's
Cody.
so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer about him. I think Helen Gardner's favourite player as well.
I think he might be right.
Me and her
yeah.
have lots alike. Same audience.
Yep. Well, welcome back, Jamara Ugelhagen. Hope you're feeling well and everything goes okay for you. Quite sincerely.
Yeah, genuinely. I'm really glad to see him back at Doggies.
Yeah.
I think that is it's good. There's a lot of injuries, so we'll go.
I was going to say, the Bont's okay after landing on the football. I hope he's okay. Thoughts and prayers.
That's between him and his doctor, Broden.
Fair enough.
West Coast captain Oscar Allen sidelined indefinitely with scans confirming damage to his left calf and Achilles. Achilles injuries give me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but the club was pretty optimistic when this news came out because they thought it was going to be a lot less, and they actually said, we're relieved Oscar has not ruptured his Achilles tendon.
Those Achilles ones when people think that they got shot in the ankle or they think someone hit them and they turn around.
Yeah.
Like, how scary is that?
Yeah, so scary.
Who was that? That's
Yeah.
freaky, man.
Awful.
That is awful.
And that'll be potentially the last game he plays for the Eagles, right? Because he's on the move. That's what everyone says,
Potentially,
right?
it's out of contract. Huge bummer for Eagles because Jake Waterman's also on the sidelines. I was like, well, that was their players.
They're really good, like top 5 players. Yeah, 2 incredible forwards. Yeah.
I might call out an email. I know it's not Wacky Willy Wednesday, but it is a Wednesday when we're doing this. But
That's true.
I do want to call out.
It's technically wacky.
I want to call out a person. Daniel called and said, Eagles are bad, but please talk about the Eagles a little bit.
Oh,
So-
that's
We always do the
fair.
pod before they've played.
And so
Oh, yeah.
I just want to call out Daniel and
AFL's
say,
fault.
I want to say, Daniel, are you happy? We've talked about Oscar Allen and Waterman being out. Like, what
Hope
else?
you're happy now, mate.
But also wonderful infrastructure. Apparently,
Yeah, big stadium.
The Optus Stadium. Apparently, at the moment, we're going to find out how the turf team over there have recovered because they've had the Socceroos there, I believe, and then a few footy games, and it's been a downpour this week. Let's keep an eye. Surface watch.
For Freo Essendon
Yes,
Yeah.
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
the grand final preview.
The planes versus the ships. Oh,
Good one.
Ocean Gate versus.
Ocean Gate.
No,
Friends 2 documentaries.
I've got a lot of documentaries this week. What else is news?
So, you know how you interviewed, did you say the players, the W players
Yes,
that you
I
had?
did, yeah.
So since you had Abby McKay, now in my
Mackay,
head,
yeah.
I keep saying like Harry McKay, Abby McKay. I do that in my head all the time now that it's actually got it. Now I'm second guessing myself all the time. Harry McKay, right?
Yes.
Will miss 6 weeks with a knee injury. Yeah, huge bummer. Like this, I feel a lot for Harry. I feel like he's really gone through it this year. He's missed the past 2 matches due to knee soreness after copping a knock in the dying stages of the defeat to Greater Western Sydney last month. And after meeting with a specialist, he needs to undergo surgery and he'll be sidelined for 4 to 6 weeks. He's expected to return at the back end of the season. And this weekend, if Charlie Curnow doesn't pass his fitness test, then it could be the first time that the Blues are without both Curnow and Mackay this year.
And I would go out on a limb and say that's bad. That them 2 major forward options. We're just going to kick the Motlop now. They're in big trouble. That's grim.
Yeah.
Why is everyone being injured, Marnie?
Time of year, I don't know.
I guess. I mean, I guess it's just bad luck, right? But you could make some parallels to this time of the season, like all that work done in the preseason is starting to wear off a little bit.
Do you know what I can say? I could do a thing of saying, is the fact that the game's getting longer and longer part of this, more minutes on the field.
That's good, Broden.
This is a hot take.
People will like that.
Yeah. You want to see Paddy reach 400, shorten the game.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Danger was up for that.
Yeah. Oh, yes, clearly. And can I ask the two of you, do you see anything wrong with this sentence? This is the lead that a male journalist wrote. Carlton have plunged into a mid-season injury crisis as they face the prospect of playing without Twin Towers, Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow for the first time this year.
It's a great
Well, the plunged, is that because Carlton have 3 pools?
Yep.
building a fourth.
Yeah.
Building 4 pools.
Are they hot or cold?
I don't know if
Give
that
us
was
the
a joke,
information
but-
we want.
Yeah, that was. I don't know if it's a joke, but someone told us that the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twin Towers conjures images for me.
Yeah. So my issue is that fair enough. But that was the lead that a male journalist wrote in a very prominent newspaper and no one blinked an eye. Whereas a commentator said Twin Towers, referring to Carlton forwards, and got absolutely ripped apart on TikTok for it.
Yeah,
Really?
clickbait shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it was Kelly Underwood.
Yeah.
Right.
And
How
get her
awful.
off because she doesn't know what she's talking about. And can you believe that she called them this when everyone calls them this? I
feel
just
it,
wanted to
yeah.
point that out because I feel like a lot of mistakes are made and you can critique those mistakes, but pulling apart something that everyone says in this realm just for internet clicks is gross. And I read that sentence and I wanted to like rip my hair out because everyone says it.
Especially like even Buddy and Roughhead were referred to as the Twin Towers as well. So it's not
Yeah.
like a new term. By
It's
any means.
not.
No, it's an easy clickbait thing for very base people to do.
Yeah,
Very
it's a
base.
Lord of the Rings reference. It shows that Kelly's well read.
Yeah. I love Lord of the Rings. Giant star defender Sam Taylor ruled out for weeks with a fractured toe. He went underwent scans after reported with soreness following the Giants' win over Brisbane. So he's going to be in a moon boot and then rebuild his training load. But he's been ruled out for 4 to 6 weeks, which is a bummer because that really impacts his All-Australian chances again this year. And I would have loved to see him there. I mean, he still could. Who knows?
He is in my opinion, the best defender in the league, just about. Who's
Oh,
better?
yeah. No, I think that's well documented, right?
So he could still maybe stay there, like on at least AA.
Yeah, I always get confused by that. I feel like some years Gorn has been the one and then he misses 2 games and everyone's like, well, it can't be Gorn, so I don't know.
He's the one, I think, out of GWS you'd say he's your number 1 pick. He's your draft pick.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
Bummer.
There are so many others though. Like Sam Collins never makes it, and I do feel like in that particular role, it's Sam Taylor, but only half a rung down is like someone like Collins. So maybe if he plays every game, it's worth having that conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's a bummer for Giants because they need some stability.
Yes.
Good news for Sydney fans. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Errol back.
Really?
Errol Gordon and Tom Papley return against Port Adelaide on Saturday.
Tom Papley too, yeah. Wow.
Gordon was involved in full training this week. Papley did drills away from the main group for large parts of the session. Oh my goodness, you know what I said.
Yeah.
And but Callum Mills said in his presser that they're both going to be putting their hands up for selection this week, so it's all up to the match committee. And my mum's going to be stoked because she's a big Tom Papley fan.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's such a it's like too late.
Yeah, I know.
It's like
I know.
Is it though?
Totally.
Yes.
They're equal
3
with Melbourne,
games
so
behind.
that's they're equal with St Kilda and Melbourne.
I don't know.
So they are cooked.
Patty, are you shaking your head because it is too late or you think we're wrong?
I don't think it's too late.
I don't
Not
think it's
too
too late.
late.
It's 3 games out of the 8. It's nothing.
They are on equal 15th.
There is a couple of teams that will collapse from here, and they could win every game from here. So,
But
But it
like
means
Suns
they
could
can't
collapse and lose
falter.
every single game from here very easily. Like we've seen
Yeah.
it before. We've seen it before. Like you know what I mean? There's room in that 8. I swear by it.
But Sydney are going to Port, and the last time that they went to play Port Adelaide over in Adelaide, they suffered a 122-point defeat.
that's right.
Or was it 112 or 122?
That's what I was talking about with the grand final.
112.
With the grand
Yeah.
final last year, like at this point last year, I think I got on this podcast, and I'm an expert, and I said something like, Sydney are going to win the flag, so here are things we know for sure. Brisbane aren't going to win. Collingwood aren't going to win. Geelong. I went through all.
I
the
remember.
things.
It's good
And then
times.
that game was just incredible.
Yeah.
Horrific.
It was
Didn't they
crazy.
score nothing for like a quarter?
Yeah,
or a
even
half?
longer. Yeah, it was ages.
What the fuck happened?
It was incredible.
Yeah, the heaviest defeat of the Longmire era.
Wow.
Not that long.
Okay. Bombers have unveiled their 11th debutante this
Hell
year.
yeah. Hell yeah.
11.
It's so good.
One of the camos at work is a big Essendon enough. And he was like, well, at least we're getting to know our list really well. How many other clubs can get to know their list this well?
Marnie,
Yeah.
this week, it's felt like there has been a rhetoric shift with the Bombers, and it's gone. It's the vibe has been not Bombers are stuffed, but it's been that no one is on the level of their injuries. No one's on the level of their list decimation. Next year, look out for them because now they've had, a whole season of developing all these brand new players, and next year they're going to come back ready to go.
Well, it's also that. So Paul Roos spoke a lot about this on ABC's podcast with Poppy Penny.
From Hawaii.
Yeah, but Poppy Penny, big Fremantle enough, so me and her not talking this week.
Yeah.
Fight. No. They had a really good chat. But Paul Roos was saying about how much pressure has been put on the older players at the Bombers, that the older players are just worn out by now because the reliance, when you have so many young ones, they have to really lift.
Yeah.
And they did that, and they've had to do that all year, and they are just completely worn out.
Do you feel like the Essendon fan base's feeling is we're at least on the right track?
Yeah, definitely, especially because again, I know I'm in an echo chamber, so I get a lot of it, but where that rhetoric change that you've been talking about, I've seen a lot across social media of when commentators or people in the media have slammed the Bombers for being quote unquote a mess. They've been like, no, I'm actually pretty confident with where we are. We've had 11 new players and I'm actually pretty happy with what's going on there. And I mean, I kind of roll my eyes a little bit when I talk about we need consistency, because that's just what everyone says every single week. But that was the rhetoric around when Brad Scott came in. And I think that you want systems.
Yes.
You do want systems more than you want big moments.
How does the W team look this year? Did they draft well?
We'll see.
They've got a new great coach, I know that.
Nat Wood.
Assistant coach.
Natalie Wood. Oh, Ben Brown. I know. I'm so excited. Every time I see photos of Ben Brown at training, I get very excited. But what makes me more excited is when I'm at the Browns' house and I see Essendon stuff around the house. And I can't wait to indoctrinate those kids because they still have a Melbourne tilt, and because they're awful. They're still a very even just we went took Isla to footy day the other day, and she was in a Melbourne jumper, and I was like, that's going to be Essendon so soon.
That's how you make connections into the financial world, though, into the commerce world.
Also, they're getting Harley Reid, so stoked.
Why do you say that?
Because that's what we're talking about, how the Essendon fan base are feeling. They know they're getting Harley, so all good.
Yeah, you're spiritual Essendon too because of your in-law family.
I'm glad you said that because everyone accuses me that I hate them.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit Essendon more than you think.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, right, great.
Yeah. Because you love your kids more than anything, and your kids are Bombers.
That's true.
Can I point out what we're talking about Essendon in depth? A while ago, I went on this whole thing about how Essendon people aren't cool. And from people from Essendon, I got so much feedback. You're right. I just want to point that, people from the area, I'll call out Rajic. Georgia Raj is yes, correct.
Oh, yeah, true. I love Raj so much, and it's because she's not cool. You know what I mean?
There we go. Yes, great.
I wasn't sure whether to touch on this, but I think there are a few important beats to it. So I'll just go through it quickly, also because I do think a lot of people are talking about it. So Matthew Nicks, Adelaide coach, has hit back at what he's called unfair reporting, suggesting that Taylor Walker's past could impact Adelaide's pursuit of Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera. So basically the Adelaide coach hit out at a report from Caroline Wilson suggesting that St Kilda's Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera won't join the Crows due to Taylor Walker's racism incident from 2021. And then Wanganeen-Milera's management swiftly denied that report. And Nicks said that he believed that whole saga was unfair to a lot of people. And I agree. so hard because that puts Nazaya in the most uncomfortable position because either it's true, and I'm not saying whether I think it's true or not, either it is true and then it's been like it almost makes light of a very serious racism incident that happened, and Nazaya then has that publicly known that he feels that way and he won't go to a club because of that, or it's not true, and then Nazaya has to get on the phone to explain a situation to someone he's uncomfortable with. Like, it is icky. And Caro on Agenda Setters doubled down after Wanganeen Miller's management, Ben Williams, put out a statement saying that's not true. And Caro said, I don't think Ben Williams probably fully knows how Nazaya actually feels.
That's crazy.
How can you ever know how someone actually feels?
It's a really good point. If the position you've put that young guy in.
Yeah.
100%.
Really uncomfortable. And I do think that like these are kids. These are such young people. And anyway,
it feels like
there's got to be like responsibility.
With 48 shows a week and everyone trying to get a scoop, it's taken halfway through the year. It's looking really grim, but it's just going to get worse and worse. I feel people like the scoop is the only thing that like that's the way they're getting ratings is by dragging you to the scoop place. I even feel it like if you watch these shows, you're expecting in the first 10 minutes something to be said that really shocks you, and it's like maybe that's. Her talking about that is being prompted by the wrong reason, even if she thinks it's right or wrong. Just talking about it is kind of maybe a self-interest decision, maybe.
100%.
Yeah, it's a really interesting space, I think, of like what constitutes like a footy story and what doesn't, because it's a lens that a lot of journos have to go through.
Yeah.
Is this a footy story or it's not? And like, yeah, if Nazaya Wanganeen Miller doesn't go to a certain club because of a certain reason, what does the public need to know in regards to that decision? Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes there are things in the public interest, sometimes there isn't. But
I think
anyway,
just as like a base level, it feels like a personal decision and he doesn't have to tell anyone anything. Like, you know, it's like my surface level thing, you know.
I also wasn't going to touch this, but then it made me so angry. So Warwick Kappa has been banned from the MCG and all AFL matches. The AFL confirmed Wednesday morning that Kappa has issued a banning notice, and the MCG also has banned him, so he can't go to AFL or cricket. Both bans are understood to be for 5 years. Kappa's manager, Tony Marks, said that it was a lighthearted joke to a female staffer, so a caterer, while attending the grand final. And the comment, as reported by News Corp, was, "You're a nice looking girl, you'd get a job in my brothel." And his manager's statement, he did make a lighthearted joke to someone in the room, but not with any ill will. He definitely didn't walk up and say it directly to her. There's a generation of people who didn't grow up with Warwick, but for 95% of people in that room, he was being the joking Warwick Kappa, an entertainer. He knows he needs to pull his socks up with some of his jokes, but under no circumstances would he want anyone to be offended. He was making a joke and it was overheard and offense was taken. Are you fucking joking? Like, I read that statement and I wanted to like punch my screen. Like a woman just doing her job. And what, because she didn't grow up with footy, she has to just like accept these jokes. Also just saying 95% of people might understand it's a joke doesn't make it okay at all. I remember when I first started in the footy industry, a joke was made that like I must be someone's mistress or their daughter to get the job. And everyone just being like, yeah, haha, funny. And I was like, are you joking? I went home and bawled my eyes out. And I know so many women in similar positions like that. Like, that is disgusting to be like, yeah, but he's an entertainer. And like so much cultural, and there's so many women who would be in sport that aren't in sport because they don't want to have to put up with that. And it's not even just the comments, it's the comments about the comments that are the worst part. Like it's saying that's a lighthearted joke. That's worse. That's worse than the actual comments.
Yeah, trying to reduce it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he shouldn't be being talked about at all. Like he should not be a part of the discussion. Or Warwick Kappa. Yeah, well said, Marnie. I don't think I have anything to add to that apart from completely right.
Yeah.
Do you have anything? No.
And this is a great segue because I would love to talk for a second just about all of the courage I have seen this year from women's footballers across the country, particularly in Victoria, but across the country. And you can talk personally about this because you were involved in the red armband thing that happened a few weeks ago. But anyway, for context, back in February, Kyneton Football Netball Club's women's team broke away from that club following allegations that it was a horrible and volatile environment. The club denies those allegations. You can read more about that if you wanted to. But that...
Your article about it, yes?
Yeah.
On
That
the ABC.
took so much courage for the women to do that. And after I wrote that story, so many women got in touch from across codes like football, netball, soccer. Everyone was like, oh my God, the treatment that we get at our clubs is horrific and it is so widespread and it is everywhere. And it is really hard for them to talk about. And then the Office of Women in Sport and the Preventing Violence Through Sports grants programs were axed this year after the latest Victorian budget. Can also read more about that if you want to. I won't go all into the details of that. But following the axing of those programs that did really, really good tangible work, women's footballers wore 2 red armbands for their matches that week in protest, one to protest the closure of these programs and call for them to be reinstated, and the other was to honour women who have lost their lives to gender-based violence. And it wasn't just women footballers that did it, because one Broden Kelly also wore red armbands when he played netball that weekend. So thank you for that.
Basketball, yeah.
And then over the weekend, female footballers boycotted a major game over alleged sexual assault. So
Really?
Werrimal Football Netball Club members boycotted a centenary game, calling for the suspension of a male player who's been accused of sexual assault. One of the players says the boycott was in response to the club's decision not to suspend the player under investigation by the AFL. And it's just that all of these women are standing up for themselves, and it takes actual bravery, and it is takes actual sacrifice. Like the Kyneton women's team didn't have a home, and they're still struggling to find a league to play in because they made a decision that their safety was more important.
They're still looking for a place to play?
Well, they've had to join with another club to play. But yes, they're still working through all of that because the league denied their, different leagues denied their application to be able to play in those areas. And I just, it makes me actually really emotional how much women's footballers are just fighting for themselves, because there's still kind of a perception that women and girls should be grateful that they even get to play, because, it was only a few years ago, 9 years ago, that a lot of women and girls couldn't play. There was no leagues, and now there is. And there's still kind of a perception that you should be grateful that you even get to play. And so all these women are standing up for themselves and saying, well, we're not actually going to accept behaviour that makes us uncomfortable. And that I get so much strength watching that.
Well said, Marnie. That's exactly right and fantastically said. And I'll just back up them. Marnie has written about this in detail on multiple occasions. So just go through the ABC and check out the articles that she's covered on those areas. But absolutely, there should be a documentary about particularly the from 2017 to now, and just how much has changed and what the fight that's still going on. It's fascinating. It
is so fascinating, especially because I think that there was this huge boom, and it's been amazing watching all of these girls now being able to play, but you're fitting in women's and girls teams into existing clubs that have been there sometimes for 150 plus years without cultural change. That's really tricky, especially when push does come to shove. A lot of these women have said, no one from the board even, we're playing grand finals and no one from the board's even been there. We feel so undervalued.
The top end as well, it's a huge part of the growth in the AFL for the last decade has been they're going, oh, look, and now women can play as well. Look, we've doubled how many people can play. And when they talk about Queensland's growth in players, when they talk about Auskick, they say 40% of them are now young girls playing. That they use it as a look how good we're doing. But then at the other end, it's not really, there's still huge issues with it. It's a thing they use as we're winning, and then it's at the bottom end still a big issue. Lots of love in the chat for what you're saying, Marns. Just so you know. But yeah,
that's very kind.
Well said. Is that all the news?
That is, but I will say, if I could take advantage of some of that love potentially. I've got a piece going up on Friday, and it's someone else who's been very, very brave in talking to me about what they want to talk to me about. And I know it's really frustrating that I'm giving no details, but if on Friday, if you see me post about that story, if you could get around that person, I would appreciate that a lot. And I mean, like, when we post it to the ABC, like, so they can see the support, would be like, I would thank you.
I'm so excited to see the article. I'm not even allowed to know who, but I'm excited to read it.
Tipping.
Hit it.
Tipping. Tipping.
Starts with Fremantle Essendon.
Woohoo!
Thursday night. What is a good Thursday night game? Do we want the best game of the round, or do we want a weird game of the round?
Weird
Because
game.
This is a weird game of the round.
You don't know. It could end up being really good.
I know as much as I can know. And it's strange that 6% of people are tipping Essendon.
And why?
Because I don't think you have a piece of straw's hope in a cow thing, in a cow field.
Would have been a great week to do a feature on Patrick Voss, actually.
Is he with his big chest?
Yeah, especially because, like, I keep, like, how good would he be? Essendon. Also, Massimo Di Marzio.
Patrick Voss Cup. Yeah, why have they delisted all these guns?
Yeah.
They have historically poor list management,
Yes.
Broden, if you're not aware. But coming good now already. Huge improvements this year.
Speaking about the rise, this is the 8th placed Fremantle who could still make a big push. So I'm tipping them, obviously.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I had him in my top 4. So if they could please make a big push, I like to be right.
Fremantle at 8th is, what is that? 1 game behind the top 4.
Yeah. It's all
So-
tied up there.
Or it's busier than the Adelaide market on a Monday. Don't know if it's open then, but worked with the yeah.
I think another 90-point thrashing.
Oh dear.
Whoa.
Yeah. It'd be Thursday night footy.
Okay. Well, anything less than 100 points a win in my eyes.
Exactly right. Legit.
Can I be honest and blunt? Have there been many good games this year?
There was a couple of rounds where every game was like within 10 points and it
Yes.
was incredible. So yes, there have been. But overall, we're in an awful patch at the moment. The last 2 weeks have been quite poor and then buys haven't helped.
Yeah.
So I think you're feeling that way because there's just been some rubbish lately.
But then the games that I'm like, when I looked at the round at this point in the week every week, I look at this and go, well, that's going to be good. And then it's Hawthorn, Adelaide, and it's 2 versus 4, like it's 2 points versus 4 points for the majority of the game.
There was like with Gold Coast, like there was that round, those 2 games in Darwin against Hawthorn and
They were great.
Doggies were crazy. And then Adelaide a couple of weeks before that, and they were all close and intense. So yeah.
Well said. Well said. The next game is a great game, GMHBA Stadium, the white T-shirt round.
The whiteout.
There's a whiteout. That's much better than the white T-shirt round.
Yeah.
The white t-shirt round.
I'm just looking up at Patrick Dangerfield on 360 in a room of his house. And with respect to the Dangerfields, that looks like an Airbnb, or it looks like a service, like it looks like a Quest. The
Yeah.
stuff on the wall makes it feel like a Quest apartment.
He might be doing it from the club.
He could be doing it from
No,
a
I
Quest.
think that's their house.
Yeah, that clock that's not mine.
Yeah,
It
that
looks
gives
like it
me-
from Copper Art.
Well, Marty listens, so get in touch. Marty!
Marty, let's do an interior design thing. I'm happy to hear your thoughts. Friday night, Geelong, GMHBA versus Brisbane. 10% only are tipping Brisbane Lions.
Mad.
This could be a grand final preview.
But also, like, them doing all of this fanfare could just backfire very funnily.
That would be funny.
That's actually a footy gods thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. All this build up only to fall.
Who's brave enough to tip Brisbane here?
Not I.
But also, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, when a player is going for like a set shot and then the
Yes.
home crowd will like boo really loudly. I'm like, don't, it'll actually rev them up. They're more likely to get it if you boo them. It could be like this, where like they're doing so much intimidation tactics that it actually goes the other way and it revs the Lions right up.
Got no stats to back this up, and some will email telling me that I'm historically wrong, but I feel like every flag raising game, like the Premier, they lose. You always lose. Like whenever you sit back and go, we did it.
Oh, I can say that's wrong because Geelong unveiled their flag against Sydney
Yep.
after they beat Sydney by, I don't know, what was it, 60 plus or whatever. And then they won that game by even more.
Right.
Yeah, because my poor
Still
mother
gotcha.
woke up from heart surgery and she was like,
dear.
how'd the Swans go? And I was like, oh, don't worry. She's
Don't
like,
ask.
it couldn't have been bad as a grand final. And I was like, oh.
Oh God! Oh look, they just showed the cotton on shirt that everyone's going to get for free, and I'm going to be honest. That's the coolest thing I've seen Geelong do. It's
Yeah.
sick.
So I told you, I reckon people will be framing them and keepsaking them and stuff. I think.
It's doing that Michelin Ness, retro, the old like they've done really well.
Yeah.
So congrats on your free shirt.
Yeah, I think if it doesn't fit, people taking it home and frame it.
Reminds me as well when I went to the President's Lunch the other day for Melbourne.
Okay, fence.
Everyone
hell.
everyone sitting there got a $20 gift card
Jesus.
for grilled.
Oh, that's cool.
And I went, oh, wow. And I put it down, went and watched the game, came back, whole table's gone.
Yeah.
Some gun went around and stole like $400 worth of grilled
And I'm
cards.
just sitting there going, why didn't you do that, Broden?
Yeah.
I would have loved that.
I
wanted
would
to
have loved a $20 grill.
Yeah.
My
Gotcha.
team was in the running to beat the top of the ladder, Collingwood.
How'd that go?
We won. Anyway,
was close.
I think they lost by a point.
Yeah.
no, it's vagueness. I'm tipping Geelong because they're going to win the flag.
Geelong for me.
Okay, well, I'll be Brisbane then.
Good job.
Fun.
Good job,
Great.
Marnie. Saturday, MCG, Carlton North. Paddy asked me the other day, he's like, will you be making content this weekend going to games? And then I looked at all the games and said, there's not one good game in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And this was the example of that. The only thing good about North Carlton is the old La Porchetta. Bang! Rathdown Street. Anyway. Is that a real laugh?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Very good. It wasn't pitying at all.
I'm going to say Carlton here, but they don't have any forwards, and North are looking better and better every week.
I am dead set 100%. I'm backing North.
Okay, I'm not dead set 100%, but I am tipping North because funny.
It can't have been so disappointing. Now they've lost two of their best players.
And North need one.
Yeah.
Who'd they play last week? They were so close.
They played Freo and probably should have won except
Yes,
for
correct.
a three-goal brain fade, basically.
Oh my goodness, who was that marked it on the line or something? It should have been. Nick
Larky,
Larky should have got it. Yes,
yeah.
he should have got. Oh my god, that was so frustrating watching that. Yeah, I
think-
reckon North deserve one.
I think they've been the more informed team recently, I think, is my gut. So I back in North. I think
Now
they'll win.
watch Carlton win by 65.
Yeah, and that's what happens. I'm the worst tipper in the world, so no one listened to me, but got to fly off the seat of my pants, as they say.
Adelaide Oval 4:15, Port Adelaide, Sydney. The last time they played, as we discussed earlier, Sydney looked really, really bad. Maybe they want to prove a point. I think it'll be tight, but I'm going to tip Port Adelaide.
Not the last time they played, because didn't they play in the finals? But last time they played
point.
in Adelaide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they beat them? Oh, they did.
Because
They
they
beat them at the SCG.
Hawthorn to Port beat Hawthorn with the whole plane thing.
You're not
to go to
flying.
Sydney, yeah.
Yep.
I really want to tip Sydney because they got these gun players back and I think they could make a run. But coming off the bye in Adelaide,
Yeah.
I just think it's too much going to the Port West.
Also, like, first game back,
Yeah.
like, you got to,
Can't
iron
expect
out
too
those
much.
creaks.
Callum Mills has been really good since back. I think Swans will seriously make a run for it. But
Tip them.
No, they won't win this, but they'll make a run for it.
Come on, Tommy Big. Tip them.
No, I'm tipping Port.
No?
They're
I'm
my
tipping
babies.
Port as well.
And then Saturday night, Marvel Stadium. Collingwood versus St Kilda. Collingwood will win by 400 points. I'm so sorry, St Kilda.
I think St Kilda will win.
Really?
Yeah, I really
Give us
Why?
why.
'Cause
Come on, man.
Whenever I think they're the worst team in the world, they play at their Marvel, their beloved Marvel, and they just fucking come out and destroy it. So I just feel like Collingwood won't like going to Marvel and Saints will be awesome.
Yeah. Okay, I like it, Tommy Big, but you just like that. They're a worse chance than Saints against Port.
I think-
Swans against Port.
I think the Marvel thing for them is almost like a 40-point swing in my brain.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
Fair enough.
You know, like they're so much better there. And whenever I write them off, they manage to win one.
Pies money.
Yes, pies.
Yes, fair, reasonable thought. At the NG Stadium, which is half an hour out of Sydney and 9 hours from Penrith. People email and get upset about the Penrith thing, but it's so far away. G'd up the Expansion Cup. Someone's back for this, I think, or something's happening.
From what team?
Giants?
Maybe.
Giants versus Suns.
Yeah. Suns coming off a bye. They don't play as well away from home. GWS for sure.
Also, I'm happy to see the Suns playing again. Giants, I think Sam Taylor's such a big out. I think Suns will win.
Oh, 7th and 6th. Giants.
Giants.
I know my sonnies. Rowley's been down Geelong for 2 weeks.
He's going to Dogs if he's going anywhere.
Yeah,
You
okay.
watch this space.
Okay.
So you're going Giants.
Yes, Giants for sure.
Tommy Big goes Giants. And then the last game, Marvel Stadium, 3:20. We're going to get to cover all the games for once.
Fantastic.
No Perth midnight game.
I love that.
Dogs Richmond.
It
'cause
is
West Coast on a
mad
bye.
that Dogs are still not in their eighth.
Yeah.
Eight.
They're going to make a vibe run now. Watch the vibe run. The vibe run starts this week.
Okay.
Vibe run. Darcy kicks 6.
Or 7.
Paddy reckons more than 6.
Yeah, wow.
Paddy reckons 8. Paddy reckons 10. Paddy reckons 40.
40.
Wow, you heard it
40
here.
kicks. I was just laughing really hard because the reason we can podcast at a normal time and don't have to wait for West Coast is because they're on a bye.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, of course.
So probably next week they'll be back to 6:10.
I'm so sorry, St Kilda people, West Coast people. All right, well, that's our tips, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Great work, Marnie. Keep an eye out for that article on Friday. Tom, what are you up to?
Not much.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm having a day off tomorrow.
Yes,
Oh,
do
great.
it.
What are you going to do?
I went,
Take Addie to the zoo, maybe.
Oh,
Dunno.
that's cool.
First day off in a long, long time. They're excited.
have a great one at the zoo.
Fly to
you, mate.
Freo. Go to the Bombers game.
Not the worst idea you've ever had. But that's Addie's first trip on a plane.
Yeah, no,
and
that is
4
the
hours.
worst. Yeah.
I can't think of anything worse, actually.
Have a great week, everyone. Bounce that said pill. And hey, the chat's been going off. People have been chucking us lots of money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a few donos to read out.
There's some
Okay.
key ones. There was one from Melface, one Corey said that, Marnie, you got to have your own podcast, Mel said. Just because you've got
thank
good shit to
you.
say.
Yeah.
People giving money, just someone just listened to the Crohn's episode and wanted to shout you.
Yeah, Cooper dropped 15. Thank you, Cooper, for
Thanks,
listening to
Cooper.
that. Someone else as well. It's annoying. I can't scroll up and see them all. I should have screenshotted them, but someone else dropped a tenner as well, I think.
Cooper
Have you got 'em?
Rupert.
Yeah, do it, Pat. And Greg's just dropped a tenner as well. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Dad.
So the tenor was from Cooper, who listened to the Crohn's episode and said you were aura farming with the Johnny Big Fits and that Broden is also just a little bit funny, which I disagree with my whole heart. Jamie donated $7.99 and says, did you know this tip is a drum? I didn't. Cooper says, with a $5 donation, Marnie, also brilliant, one of the best footy personalities in the business, and this is my favourite part. Paddy is a stat king daddy.
Truly, honestly, truly. We'll say anything and then look to you and you will say, you will just know yes or
I'm
no.
making it up. I don't know anything.
No, you
I just
do.
point.
You know everything.
And then Greg
Can I
says,
say something about you just
Yes?
before you jump to Greg?
Okay.
He sat in on camera before you got here. He glows on camera. He's like Rebecca Gibney. He's meant for the camera.
Thanks.
Well, you take that beanie off and you've got your hair cut like a smart young man.
When you stop dressing like a boy from Brunswick.
Just do this.
There
do
we
this,
go.
Do this. He's like, look at that. Look at that young man. He
Yeah, it's good. It's a good mop of hair.
Sorry.
doesn't like. He's freaking out. He's freaking out. Look at that.
Greg says in support of Marnie's heartfelt news, $10. That's not how he said it. He just donated $10.
You're going to owe me more than that when
Greg.
Queensland lose tonight.
Hello, Greg.
Pick a team, Greg.
Thank you, Dad.
Greg.
I think also Richo donated $5 before the stream, and I forgot
Good
to
on
say
you,
thanks
Richo.
as well. So,
sorry,
cheers, Richo, legend.
All right. And thank you to everyone. Lovely, warm community there, as always. I see you all.
Sam Darcy will not kick 40 goals. He'll kick 8.
Okay. 8. There, you've heard it here first. Thanks, folks. We're going to get out of here. Have a great week. Bounce that pill. Bye-bye.